What's up, guys? Back on track a little bit after yesterday's 5-3, which was not too bad. Couple of games were kind of a little bit dicey, even though I think I had them right. And they did win, but in the end, I think I had them right. What I forgot to mention, speaking of right, is that Wright State game that I lost the previous day. That was pretty stupid, man. Wright State was winning outright for like most of that game. I think they had it. They should have covered. It looked like it was over. They were up like 7 with like 4 minutes left or something like that. And then somehow there was like a 17-point swing in like a 3-minute period. I don't know how that even happened. No clue. But I do think Wright State was probably the right side in that one. I haven't really dug into the box score that much, but oh well. Yesterday college basketball was good at 3-1, and BYU really did their best to try to blow that. They had a nice second half, and they were winning most of the second half by margin. It looked like it was over. They were up like double digits. I think they were up by as much as 13 at some point in the middle of the second half. They were up like 10 with like, I don't know, 8 minutes left or something like that, and then almost let the entire lead slip. I think it got to within 1 near the end, and then luckily they still wound up getting out of there. I think probably on some intentional fouls. If you look near the end there at some point, there was a free throw attempt discrepancy at one point close to the end of the game that was UCF had 33 free throw attempts and BYU had 9. That doesn't seem like totally honorable reffing there, let's say, totally unbiased reffing. I don't know how you have a 33-9 free throw attempt discrepancy, and that's bigger in a game like that because UCF is not very good at free throw shooting, and they weren't in that game either, and BYU is a lot better at it, so I don't know. But BYU got out of there and still wound up covering, so that was good. I forget what the college basketball loss that I had even was. What did I even lose in college basketball? What were my plays yesterday? I wanted to recap this quickly. I don't even know. What the hell did I lose? Having a 5-3 day though was good enough for me for now. I was happy about that. Happy with it. What did I lose? I don't even know. I'm trying to look at my history here real quick while I'm at it. The hockey, the Islanders game was way closer than it looked, man. I think the game was 0-0 into the third period, and the Islanders took a 1-0 lead in the third period and then allowed 3 goals in the third period. So that was a little bit bullshitty. Oh, yeah, I lost Oklahoma State yesterday. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that game wasn't really that close. The Islanders game was a lot closer than the final score looks. So that was unfortunate. Calgary had a nice win against Vegas and got there easily, and then the Lakers blew it. That was the other one that frustrated me. Lakers had a really good first half. Looked like they were going to win the game. They were winning for, I think, a majority of that game, and then somehow wound up losing it in the end. So fuck that, I guess. It's just going to make me make my dislike for the Lakers increase further and make my disdain for LeBron as a Celtic fan also be heightened. Let's move to today. College basketball, not a huge slate. It's the Sunday slate. The Big Ten tends to play on Sunday. I do lean against Michigan State, but I'm not quite going to do this one. Michigan State's up from 11.5 to 12. KenPom has this at 11, I think. Michigan State, 65% of tickets and 63% of the cash. They're still carrying that name recognition, even though I think Michigan State just kind of remains a bit undervalued, though, because of their really tough schedule so far. They're sitting at 9-7, 1-4 in conference. They're coming off a tough battle against Illinois where they played Illinois close, wound up covering in the end, but not winning. They lost by 3 at Illinois. That was a big game, a tough game. So they're coming off that, which is why I would want to go against Michigan State in this game. But the fact that Michigan State's only 1-4 in conference, and I still think, even though the KenPom numbers are telling you this line is basically where it should be, like it has Michigan State at 11, so maybe even jacked up a little bit just because of the Michigan State name. Michigan State is still a better team than people think they are too, though. Like I think they're like a top 20 team in college basketball, and their record doesn't make it look it at all. They're playing Rutgers. Rutgers does have actually a better overall record than Michigan State right now and is ahead of them in the Big Ten, which is ridiculous to even think about because Michigan State is a double-digit favorite against them at home here. So we know who the better team is. Rutgers is coming off a win over Indiana. That's a decent win for Rutgers, too. Indiana has a good record and a pretty good record in conference, even though I don't think Indiana's very good at all this year, man. I think they had an easier schedule early on. Ken Baum has them ranked like 91st right now or something like that. So that win by Rutgers looks better than it actually is. So there are just things that make this not quite strong enough for me to want to actually do this one. But I lean to Rutgers slightly here just because Michigan State's off such a tough game against Illinois. And Rutgers, I think, kind of tends to ugly up games a little bit. I mean, you saw how ugly that 1-point win was against Stonehill, where they almost didn't even win in that game. Rutgers, they ugly up these games, man. So Rutgers, they're a team that you would more likely want to take in a situation where they're a huge underdog. But I'm not going to do that one. The game that I'm actually going to be on in college basketball is going to be Tulsa. It's plus 2.5 right now, and it looks like the line might be moving up a little bit, so it's possible it hits 3, which it's less key in basketball than it is in football, but get whatever the best numbers that you can. I think you might be able to wait on this one a little bit. The game's in the afternoon. I haven't played it quite yet because I think the 2.5, I don't think is going away. Tulane's up from 2 to 2.5. They're public. They got 88% of the tickets. It looks like they have 98% of the cash right now. I don't know what's up with that. Ken Baum has this line at 3. So I'm waiting to see if I can get a 3 or even better on Tulsa here, but we'll see what happens with that. But I like Tulsa plus the points. We can call it plus 2.5 here if we want, unless it's up to 3 right now. Let me see. What is it at right now? Tulsa. Looks like it's 2.5 consensus. I don't see any 3s right now, but I'd have to look deeper. This is a spot play for sure. Terrible spot for Tulane, to be honest. Tulane, this game is like just sandwiched in there between all the better teams in this conference. They played North Texas 2 games ago. North Texas is a game that really is known for slowing the game down and likes to make games real ugly. Tulane, lost that game. Then they played Florida Atlantic on Thursday. This is why I'm going against them here. Those are 2 pretty get-up games here in this conference. With Florida Atlantic, they had to make multiple comebacks in that game from being down by a decent margin. Came all the way back again, and they played Florida Atlantic right to the wire and played them to within 1. I watched the end of that game, and it was Tulane had some chances to win that game at the end of it, and they fell just short of Florida Atlantic, who I still believe is the best team in this conference. That is a really tough loss, and you're coming off having North Texas the game before that, even though they lost by 14 in that one. How do you get up for Tulsa, man, after you just played Florida Atlantic to the wire and almost beat them? I think it's a hangover spot. I don't like Tulane here. And coming up after this, they have UAB, who I think they're not as good as people think they are, but they have a good, they've been good in this conference so far. I think they're undefeated in the conference. They have a good record. They're somewhere near the top of the conference right now, so they might be looking ahead more to UAB and Memphis coming up after that, which is next weekend. So this Tulsa spot is a sandwich spot in the middle of 4 games against better teams, against North Texas, FAU, UAB, and Memphis all there. So this Tulsa spot is the one spot where it looks like Tulane might get caught. And coming off that Florida Atlantic game, having to turn around that quickly, that's going to be difficult to do. Tulsa, I was on them in their previous game, and they didn't cover, and they really didn't do well in that game against Charlotte somehow, even though Charlotte was off of upsetting FAU. Tulsa was getting knocked around in that game. They were down double digits, and it's crazy that Tulsa even got to within a half point of the spread in that one. They just hit a meaningless 3 at the end to cut it to 8 when they were down 11 there at the end. I had them plus 7.5. It was a bad spot for Charlotte, and Tulsa still didn't show up there, but we'll see what happens here, man, because this is Tulsa has only had 1 home game in their conference so far, and they played well against Memphis, played them to within 3, so they might show up for this one at home. It's not really an easy spot to go out and have to play in Tulsa, I don't think, for some of these teams. So Tulane coming off that game against FAU, having to go to Tulsa. Yeah, I'm going to be on Tulsa plus 2.5 or maybe 3 if it gets to 3. That's what I'm doing there. NBA, don't have any plays in the NBA. Kind of a short card with 5 games. Some good games on the board. I don't even know if I want to talk about any of these games. The Clippers, T-Wolves, I think are both coming off of I think they're both on nice win streaks, or they're both been playing good basketball recently. I can tell you the Clippers have flipped from a 2-point dog to a 2-point favorite here. I don't know if their players being rested or what, but they have 87% of the cash and 75% of the tickets. Looks like the cash discrepancy and the market sentiment, even though they are public, is kind of on the Clippers there. And so, the average bettor might tend to look at this and think, wait a minute, I'm getting points with the T-Wolves at home, and they have a slightly better record than the Clippers. They're both really good, and they might want to treat this like a Super Bowl type of situation, want to take the T-Wolves getting plus money. I would hesitate with that. The market looks like it's against it, so that's what I can say about that. I do think the Nuggets are probably not in a very good spot, but I'm just not going to do this. They're up from 9 to 10.5 with juice. 60% of the cash on the Pacers, though, and 52% of the tickets on the Pacers somehow. I don't know if I buy that, but Denver just beat New Orleans, which is a pretty decent win, staying at home. And then after this game, they have to go out on a road trip and play Philadelphia and Boston right after this. Those are big games, so this is kind of a more down spot in the Denver schedule there. So I would lean to the Indiana Pacers in that one. But the Pacers have a pretty good record too, so I don't know. And they've been winning recently, but the last 2 wins aren't as impressive against the Wizards and the Hawks. They beat the Celtics before that on that weird reversed call near the end that gave them a foul. I don't know what that was. Gave them a foul, and they wound up beating the Celtics. That was weird. I'm just going to stay away from the Pacers game as well, although I do lean to the Pacers. And I lean to the Kings slightly, but the Bucks are down from 7 to 5, 87% of the cash on them, 82% of the tickets. I don't know about that. The Bucks are coming off a couple of big wins. They beat the Celtics by a ton, which is huge. And then I said I would hesitate to want to be on the Bucks yesterday, but they played well again, and they beat the Warriors by double digits. So 2 big wins there, and now they're on a back-to-back and a third game in 4 days, although it's all staying in the same city in Milwaukee, all at home. But coming off those 2 big wins, I don't know, but maybe they'll be focused on Sacramento still, because Sacramento does have a better record. But Sacramento just got, maybe I kind of want to play Sacramento here. Sacramento just got blown out 2 days ago by Philadelphia. They're going to Milwaukee now. They might be focused on this. That was an ugly, ugly loss to Philadelphia. And I think Philadelphia might have not even had Embiid playing in that game. So that's kind of an embarrassing loss, even though it is one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, Embiid was out in that game. So how do you lose that game by that much to that lineup that Philadelphia was putting out on the court? I don't know, man. That's questionable. I'm looking at it right now. Am I going to add the Sacramento Kings on the fly here? I'm tempted to do it, but I don't know. Can we get a good number on this? I don't like that the numbers crash from 7 down. I don't know if I want to take a worse number on this. It looks like I can get 5.5 right now on this. I don't know what the power ratings guys might have this one at here, but in the NBA, you're definitely playing spots like this as well, though. I mean, it looks like, yeah, I mean, I would say somewhere around 5-6 is kind of a fair line in this one, I think, actually. And we don't know who the Bucks might be resting some guys on the back-to-back here. Fuck it. I don't really want to chase steam here, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna play the Sacramento Kings plus 5.5 here. Hopefully it gets there. We'll do it. We'll see what happens with that. It's a bad spot for the Bucks, so I'll jump on the Sacramento Kings plus 5.5, and then yeah, I would not want to have anything to do with the Portland Trailblazers, even though they're a huge home underdog. They're returning home from a road trip. The Suns are up from 10 to 11, 96% of the cash on them, 87% of the tickets. I do think the Suns are coming off that big blowout win over the Lakers too. But so a lot of it looks like it's a decent, and they have Sacramento up next. It looks like a decent spot for Portland in a lot of ways there, and they got blown out in their last game, but they're returning home from a long road trip, man. 7-game road trip. So I'm just not going to I can't play a team returning from a 7-game road trip. As tempting as it looks, getting so many points at home against a team that's not in a good spot. Unfortunately, both teams are in bad spots. NHL, there are just 2 games. I don't even want to get involved in these. Washington Rangers might be interesting. Washington just beat the Rangers in Washington, so you get kind of the zigzag effect here. It looks like the Rangers are sitting at a minus 225 favorite, which seems high. I don't know. what's factoring into that. I think I kind of expected Rangers somewhere in the range of like 180, 190 here. I don't know. 225 is crazy. Cash, 95% of the cash on the Rangers, 64% of the tickets. Not sure what to think about that game, but I would lean a little bit to the Rangers now, but I don't want to lay a huge price like that with them. But the Rangers have been playing pretty poorly recently, shockingly poorly after how great they were earlier in the season. But I think they can turn. I think they might turn it around for this one and beat the lesser team in Washington there. And Detroit, Toronto, I don't have much of an opinion on that. Toronto's at minus 187. These opening lines that pregame has right now, I don't think are correct. Toronto minus 187 with 94% of the cash and 88% of tickets. I don't know about that. So staying away from the NHL, that really short card there. In the NFL, I might add a play here, man. And then we have a weird situation where the Bills-Steelers game got moved, which is unfortunate, especially for people that wanted to jump in on that under, or if people played my suggestion with the prop on Josh Allen rushing yards over. I mean, it's still, I don't think it's a bad idea even still, because TJ Watt being out in tomorrow's game now is going to be that's going to make it really tough for the Steelers defense to be able to totally contain Josh Allen when he wants to be mobile and run around a little bit. But I think it was a much better proposition in a crazy weather, like wind and snow game, where you were going to see less passing involved. I think Josh Allen was going to be using his legs more. So that's unfortunate. And we'll see what happens. The Bills tomorrow. I'll talk about what happens with the line there, but it looks like the market read is actually kind of shifting to the Steelers to cover the big number on that. The number's doing the same thing, though. It came out at 9.5 again, and it's up to 10. The total is sitting at 37 and down from 39 to 37.5, though, instead of being at 34.5 where it was in the previous game. So. But of course, the game was moved because of weather, which you never see that in the NFL, man. I just think everything's just becoming pussified. These are supposed to be gladiators, man. You're supposed to play these like tough weather games and these tough conditions in the playoffs, man. It's what it's all about. Like, you remember, even though I hated it, it's one of the games that ruined football. I think the tuck rule game. It wasn't because of the snow. The snow wasn't the reason why it was so bad. I loved the snow aspect of it. It was I became a Patriots hater because even though I'm from New England, I hate Belichick, hated Brady. That tuck rule, that was a fumble, man. People should get over it, but that was the play that kind of like created the whole like Patriots dynasty. So I really hate it. And I am a fan of John Gruden too. And he was the coach of the Raiders at the time. Not a fan of the Raiders, but I am a fan of John Gruden. That was just awful. That was like a notable snow game there. The NFL used to not be pussies about this. Even last year, you had Buffalo play that snow game in the playoffs that we know against Cincinnati. You had the wind tunnel game that I think was pretty recent with Buffalo and New England, where the wind was so crazy that I think Mac Jones only threw like 2 passes in the entire game, and I don't think Allen had that many more than that. That was a ridiculous game too. But that's like what the NFL like is all about, like late season NFL. So this is ridiculous. They're moving this game. Some of it has to do with money too, because like the TV and viewership aspect of it is getting ridiculous. The NFL, it's all about money, and they want better ratings, which I think all this stuff I think is gonna backfire a little bit. I think people would be more interested in a way in this game if it was crazy weather. I think that is actually a draw to watch this game, even if there's not going to be that much scoring in the game because of it. I think people are going to watch it for the novelty of it and be like, oh man, this is such crazy weather. This is crazy. It's just a wild like dogfight going on in this game kind of. I think that aspect of it being removed just kind of makes it a more ordinary NFL game. And like, who's going to want to watch that when the Bills are like an almost double-digit favorite? I think people would have tended to want to watch it more if it was a crazy snow game, and it might have made the game closer than it might be otherwise, even though it looks like the market has shifted a little bit to be on the Steelers plus the points. I don't know about that necessarily, but yeah, I just think it's ridiculous how like pussified everything is getting. But I think they want those viewership numbers to go up, and I think that they think the NFL and whoever else is involved, they think that the way to do that is to have games that are higher scoring, which I just hate. I like the old NFL where it was better defense, like smash mouth, grind it out. I think there's a lot of entertainment to that. I hate what's been going on in these pro sports as of late. Like, don't try to fix things that aren't broken, man. Like, I hate the new changes in baseball. Maybe I'm just an old man, but that's just I don't think I'm alone in that in those thoughts there. But we'll see what happens with the Bills game being moved tomorrow, and that Chiefs game last night, which I won on easily, thankfully. I definitely got that one right. The Dolphins, they were just a dead team, man, as far as I could tell. That offense just really didn't even show up. The Chiefs offense didn't do that well in that game. They got held to a lot of field goals, probably more than they should have, but the cold weather environment, that game didn't get moved. That game just helps the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are just the better team. They have the better defense. They have one of the better defenses in football, which is crazy. So I think if we get the Chiefs-Bills matchup, which I think will happen because the Bills are a big favorite, and that's, I think, what the NFL knows the viewers want anyway, but I think it's warranted in this case. It will be a much better game. Both of those teams deserve to be where they are, so that'll be an interesting game because I think, shockingly, because people talk about Mahomes and Josh Allen all the time, shockingly, I think that would be a matchup of two good defenses as well as two good quarterbacks, so that would be interesting in that one. Moving to today's slate, well, actually, I was going to say, the Peacock aspect of that Chiefs game last night was just ridiculous, too, though. The game was Peacock only. I don't know if it was broadcast, at least in the local environments for Kansas City and Miami fans. I would hope that it was broadcast on local TV at least, because that's just ridiculous. I'm hoping that backfired, too, like trying to get people to buy Peacock. Hey, it's the NFL playoffs, and now if you want to watch the NFL playoffs, you have to pay more money and buy Peacock. Yeah, fuck you. It's so ridiculous, even though I happen to have Peacock, and I think it was just an advantage of getting it through my cable subscription or whatever, because I have a sports package. I hate it though. It's just so ridiculous. Whatever. Let's talk about the NFL today. The name of that show, NFL Today. Let's talk about the two games that we have now in the NFL. The NFL doesn't start until 4:30 Eastern today now because the Bills game got moved. Packers, Cowboys, my thoughts that I mentioned the other day have not really changed. Cowboys down from 7 with juice, or maybe even 7.5 to 7. They've been sitting at 7 for a while now. Game just kind of sitting there on that number. 80% of the tickets on the Cowboys, 79% of the cash on the Cowboys. I think, obviously, the public is on the Cowboys. The cash discrepancy seems to be on the Packers a little bit. Obviously, the Cowboys have more experience here. These guys have been in multiple playoff games by now. And, of course, the knock on the Cowboys, though, is that they continue to lose playoff games. I don't know how many they've won in the Dak Prescott era, but they always get knocked out of the playoffs at some point, short of the conference championship, too. It seems like they always get knocked out in either this round or the divisional round. So I think there's more pressure on the Cowboys here by far. So that's why I lean to the Packers slightly here. I think the Cowboys, the pressure is always on them, man. They have such pressure on them every year because you're America's team. You're Dallas. You're the big name team. Everybody's been waiting for so long to get back like those 90s days there where the Cowboys were really good. Hasn't been the case since then, really. The Cowboys haven't really done anything for a couple of decades now, and everybody's still waiting around. Like, when are the Cowboys coming back? What's going on? And it's always like, this is the year. This is going to be it. The Cowboys look good again. They have a good offense, which they do. Their defense is a bit suspect, but they have a lot of good offensive players on this team. They could score for sure. Dak Prescott has played in a bunch of playoff games now, so they're used to this environment. Mike McCarthy has coached in the playoffs, even though I think he makes some bad decisions, and I think he gets maybe a little bit too much hate, even though I don't think he's great, but I think he's an okay coach. Not great for sure, but we'll see what happens with that. But I think everybody's saying, like, this is the year now, finally, man. The Cowboys are over the hump. They took the division away from the Eagles. They won the NFC East. Here we go. The Cowboys are going to make a run in the playoffs this year, finally. Let's go. That might be true, but I think it's going to take them getting by the Packers here first. I think if they get by this game, I think that they're going to have a winnable matchup in their next game because they're going to wind up they're going to get Detroit if Detroit wins today, which I think is a winnable game at Dallas for sure. Dallas will be hosting a game in the next round regardless of who they face, but I think they'll be able to beat I think the Eagles would be the worst matchup for them, to be honest, because the teams know each other and they played 2 close games this year. So that would be the worst matchup they could get, I think. But if they get Detroit or Tampa Bay, I think Cowboys won't really have much of a problem being able to win that game. But this game, they have to get past this game, man. I think this game might be a little bit difficult for them because it's the start of the playoffs. The pressure is all on them. They have to get over the hump. I think if they win this game, they might be more relaxed going into the next game. But this is like, they got to show up. They got to win this game, man. And the Packers have absolutely nothing to lose here. They have Jordan Love. Jordan Love, first-time playoff quarterback, not necessarily a good proposition, although C.J. Stroud was able to win yesterday and put up a good performance against a really good defense. That was not a good performance by the Cleveland Browns yesterday. The score was way worse than the game actually was. The game was much closer than it appeared. Houston still won that game and won it statistically, but statistically it was way, way closer than the final score. Look, man, you had a situation where it looked like the Browns defense made adjustments at halftime. It looked like they were going to get back into that game. The Browns drove down the field. Looks like they were in the red zone. I think it looked like they were about to cut it back to a 3-point game, and they threw a pick six, which was at least a 10-point swing because they were in the red zone, possibly a 14-point swing, and just completely threw the momentum of that game in the other direction and ended the game, basically. You can't throw a pick six when you're marching down the field. You're about to score a touchdown, get back in this game, get ready to cut it back to 3. You throw a pick six, and now you're down 17 instead of 3. That just ended that game, and so that game was worse than it looked. Houston had 2 defensive touchdowns in a row in that game. January Joe, his statistics besides the pick six weren't that bad in that game, but those 2 pick sixes like totally killed that game, which is just awful. But back to Packers Cowboys, yeah, Jordan Love, it is going to be his first playoff game, which again, I don't necessarily want to be on a quarterback playing their first playoff game, but I don't think they have anything to lose here, man. They're the 7 seed. Nobody expects them to win. Nobody expected them to even be here with Aaron Rodgers gone. This is his first year gone from the Packers. People had low expectations for the Packers this year, and here they are. They're in the playoffs. So I think totally playing with house money, the Packers. I think they can play a much looser game. They can throw some things at the Cowboys that the Cowboys might not expect. So I think the Cowboys might make their fans sweat a little bit in this game. But I do think they get out of there with the win. But I like the Packers to cover the spread in that one slightly. And finally, I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually going to play the Detroit Lions in the night game here. Rams are just way too trendy, man. The line open lines 3 with juice, and it's back up to 3 with juice again. I think it ticked down almost to 3 even money, or 3 minus 105. Now it's headed back up to 3 with juice, and we might see it continue to move back up. So I think the 3 minus 110 is going to be gone at some point. I laid the 3 minus 110. I think you're going to just see the juice move up, and you might see this. You might see this close 3 minus 120, or maybe even get to 3.5 in some spots. The way that this is looking right now, I don't know, but I think that it is moving upward. There are less 3 minus 110s out there to take. So if you can get that key number of 3 with the Lions, I think I would do it, and I have. I'm doing it with the Lions. Rams, everybody is on the Rams, man. I see almost no one liking the Lions here. The Rams, 59% of the tickets, 56% of the cash. So they are the public and trendy road underdog here, which is not really a team that I would want to get involved in. The cash discrepancy is on the Lions, but the majority of the cash and tickets both on the Rams. That's not really a good situation. That's not a situation you really want to be in here, especially if you see the line moving throughout the day, the late line move. If you see late line movement coming in on the Lions, hopefully we do. So that will, but hopefully we do. But after we get the 3 minus 110, hopefully it moves up because that would be a nice indicator for that play there. But thinking about this more, I actually like it because this is that quarterback battle situation. I like countering the narrative that's going into this game. Always being a contrarian and countering the narrative. I mean, throughout the week, I've just seen everybody liking the Rams here, man. The talking heads, even a lot of the professionals, the guys that do like sports shows like mine on YouTube. Maybe they aren't quite as contrarian as I am, but I see all these guys liking the Rams. Rams. Everybody likes the Rams. A lot of people like the Rams to win this game, and people like that matchup, Rams versus San Francisco. People like that matchup that we might get with the Rams and San Francisco, which is a divisional matchup. And I see some people even saying the Rams might win that game and get back to the Super Bowl because they have Matthew Stafford, man. They have Sean McVay. They have a coach and a quarterback that have won the Super Bowl. I believe Aaron Donald is still there, so they still have some guys on the team. Cooper Kupp. They still have some guys that were in that Super Bowl and won that Super Bowl. Kupp, I think, was in both Rams Super Bowls that they were in, the loss to the Patriots and the win over the Bengals. So there's no doubt that they do have some experience there. They have key players with key experience and an experienced coach. That is true. So all of that is, the experience is in favor of the Rams a bit. The Lions are kind of in uncharted waters because the last time they hosted a playoff game, I think I thought that it was more recent than it was. I think they were in a playoff game with Matthew Stafford, but I think it was actually on the road at New Orleans, if I remember correctly in that one. The Lions, I don't think, have hosted a playoff game since like the 1950s or 60s. So this is like uncharted waters for them. They're not used to being here. They have a coach who has not been in the playoffs before, I don't believe. So that's so those things, yeah, the Rams have a bit of an experience edge there. I mean, it didn't really matter for the Browns yesterday, though. So I was not right on that game. But this game, I think that there are some things that kind of counter that and check that a little bit, because the Rams do have a lot of really young players on this team too, and they're a very young team on average. They have a lot of players that have not been on this stage before and were not in that Super Bowl, including a couple of their starting offensive studs there in Nakua and Williams there. They're new guys to the lineup there, so they haven't been in the spot before. So I don't know if the pressure is going to be if the pressure is going to be mounting on them a little bit there. And maybe the pressure is mounting a little bit because so many people expect them to win this game and like get back to the Super Bowl and stuff. I don't know. It's almost like the pressure is a little bit less on the Lions because like basically nobody's saying that the Lions can win this game. The Lions seem to be getting a lot of disrespect in this game. So I don't know. The Rams did rest a lot of their starters in the 49er game to end the season. Both of those teams were resting a bunch of their starters. So Carson Wentz was in there for the Rams, but is that going to be an advantage though when it's like a semi-bye week and it comes during a stretch of games where the Rams are playing really well and winning every game? They were one of the hottest teams in football coming into the playoffs, and they rest their starters for a week. I don't know, man. That might throw off their offensive timing a little bit. That might not be an advantage to them, really. Whereas the Lions, we know they stupidly played their starters because Sam Laporta got hurt in that game, and he's going to be out, which it was stupid on Dan Campbell's part. And I think Khalif Raymond is hurt. I don't know if he got hurt in that game or not, but the Lions are missing some of their offensive weapons now because of that. Dan Campbell, he had no reason to play his starters there because we knew Dallas was going to win against Washington. So the Lions were effectively locked into the 3. So I don't know why he did that. Laporta is a big offensive weapon. He's going to be gone. Although I think the Lions will do okay replacing him. Replacing a tight end doesn't seem to be that big a deal. Like the Ravens really didn't miss that much at all with Andrews out. Nobody even remembers that Andrews is out really because Likely has been really good. So you can have backup tight ends fill in like kind of nicely. So I don't think that's going to hurt the Lions that much there. And their offense is really good. But the main reason I'm on this, though, even though the Rams have the somewhat better defense of these two teams, and I do a lot of times like the better defense that is getting points. But in this case, this game's all about the offenses, really. I would say both of these teams have of course, have offenses that are really on fire right now, good offenses. Detroit, I think, has the better offense of the two, maybe even without those couple of players there than the Rams do. Rams have the slightly better defense, but as I was about to say, I like the quarterback narrative here, the counter narrative, because all anybody is talking about in this game is Matthew Stafford is playing against the team that got rid of him, man. He's going to be angry. He's going to want to he gets to play a playoff team at Detroit, at the team that got rid of him, right? Like, he's going to want to go in and beat the team that thought that he wasn't good enough. Yeah, but he won the Super Bowl after that with the Rams. And because of that, everybody's also saying, well, the Rams won that trade. It was Stafford and Goff. These two teams swapped quarterbacks, and that's the matchup here. everybody's saying the Rams won that deal. They won the Super Bowl. The Rams got the better of that deal. Stafford's the better of the two quarterbacks, which even I think I might agree with that, but Stafford's a little bit older now, man. But the Rams won the Super Bowl, man. So that's what everybody's talking about. Nobody's talking about the other side of it, where doesn't Jared Goff have the same motivation, but even stronger, because he's playing against the Rams, who thought that he wasn't good enough, and everybody's saying that he's going to lose this game, and that he's the one that lost the Super Bowl with the Rams, and then when the Rams got rid of him, that got them over the hump. They got to the Super Bowl with Goff, and it wasn't enough. Then they got rid of him, and they got Matthew Stafford, and that got them to that higher echelon to finally to a Super Bowl win. That's what everybody's saying. That's what they needed, man. They needed to get rid of Goff and get Stafford, and that's what propelled them to that new height there, to Super Bowl champion. So I think Jared Goff's going to be in an angry mood because of that. I think he's going to be pissed off. He's going to want to show something. Stafford doesn't have quite as much to prove because he's already a Super Bowl winner, man. So Jared Goff, everybody's disrespecting his team right now. Nobody's talking about his narrative. Everybody's talking about the Stafford narrative. Goff, I think, is playing with an even bigger chip on his shoulder than Matthew Stafford is. He's the one that lost the Super Bowl with the Rams. He has not won a Super Bowl. I think he's going to want to show up in this game and play well. I think that's going to be the case here. Somehow the Lions are actually they feel like the team is just like the team that nobody wants. Even I feel like I don't quite want to play the Lions here. It almost feels too easy to take the Rams in this one. And it seems like everybody's doing that. Everybody's taking the Rams. So I'm going to do it. I'm taking the Lions -3. That's going to do it for me, man. It's a long video just for a few plays. I thought it was going to be a really quick video today. So the plays today are Tulsa in college basketball. A +2.5 or 3. If it can get up to 3 there, whatever the best number is that you can take there, somewhere in that range. And then NBA Sacramento Kings +5.5, and NFL Detroit Lions -3. Let's do it, man. Let's have a good day. Let's try to win. Let's have another winning day for once here. Let's start turning around. Yesterday was pretty good. Have a good day, man. Peace.